Welcome to Rewiring Health. This podcast is for those of you who have an eating disorder, chronic pain, or both. In this channel, we'll dive deep into inspirational stories of those who have healed from both, and also get into the mind-body connection and how we can heal the mind through the body, and also heal the body through the mind. Come and join me on this journey. So the other day I teach at a community college, and I have a few hours in between the two classes that I teach. And it was a sunny day, and I'm like, let me just take a moment. I'm going to go for a walk, just enjoy this day, get out, get a little exercise. So I walked through campus, and then on campus, there's this beautiful pond, and I've always seen it driving around, but I've never actually been around it. So I saw like two guys fishing, and there was like this little trail around. So I'm thinking that the trail would lead just around the pond. I'll do a quick walk and then come back and do some work. So I started down the trail, and then instead of coming around, it veers off into the woods. And I'm like, well, all right, let's just go see what's up there, because it was an interesting landscape. There was like a hill and then another clearing. And I was like, I wonder if that's another pond or if it is a field. So I kept walking around the trail, come up, and then there's another beautiful pond. And so I'm just like taking it all in, and it's like so pretty. Got the warm sun on me. It's just a nice, peaceful atmosphere. I'm just enjoying my walk. And so I decided, I kind of just really like this. Let me just keep going. I have a little extra time. I'll just keep on walking a little bit. And there was a kind of distinguished trail. So I figured I might as well just keep on going, since it's already kind of like an established trail, and we'll see where it takes me. So leave the second pond, come up this trail, and go over this little bridge. And it takes you around the second pond. And the trail is pretty, again, well established. So I figured it would just kind of take me around the second pond, loop me back to the first pond, and then I would just come back out, and that would be it. So I kept going down the trail, and then for some reason, I don't know how I got messed up, but it took me down another trail, because there was no like definitive trail around the second pond. So I'm like, all right, I'll keep on going. It must exit somewhere around here. Well, now I'm in the thick of the woods, and the trail is even less distinguished, but it's still kind of a trail. So I just keep on going, and now I'm going up this hill, and there's, trees everywhere, there's brush everywhere, and the trail just seems to be kind of like dissipating. It's less and less of a distinguished trail. So I'm thinking that I have really good senses of where I'm at. If I just go up this hill and to the right, it would bring me back up to like where my car is and where the office is that I work out of. So I'm like, all right, I'll just keep on going up the hill, and it should take me out to that direction. So I climb up the hill, I'm still going, and I get to like a barbed wire fence, and this like big open field in front of me. It's like a farm, a big farm, open field. And I'm like, okay, well, now I don't know where I am. And so I'm like, all right, I got two choices. I can either go back the way I came, or I could try to figure my way out of here, because I know I'm somewhat close to campus, but I don't know exactly where it is. So I'm not one to turn around and go back, because I'm like, I don't want to do that again. So I'm like, all right, I'll kind of just follow this along and figure out how to get out of here. So I just keep on going in the woods. Well, 45 minutes later, I'm still in the woods. And now I'm like, all right, I am lost in these woods. I'm like, how am I going to get out of here? But I knew if I'm really stuck, I did have my phone with me and I could do the GPS, but I'm like, no, I'm not using the GPS. I will figure this out. And I also, this is something that I've done many times. I would like lose myself in the woods years ago, just to like go for a long hike and then figure my way out. It was almost like a personal challenge. So I'm like, well, I've done this plenty of times. I will be fine. I'll just keep on going. And so I come down the hill, and now the path is like completely gone. There are like straight, huge trees down that I'm coming up and over. I'm going through brush. Like I'm literally creating and forging my own trail. It's just kind of like a mess. And then I eventually get down to this like brook. And so I cross that, and then get down, and then I start seeing like patches of pavement. I'm like, okay, I must be getting close. So I finally get onto this like beaten trail. I'm like, this is not the trail I started on, but I'll find it because at least I'm on a trail. So I continue up the path, and then I kind of get to the top, and there's this like really old, like abandoned church, which was really cool to see. And then there's like bathrooms. It was like really old buildings. I'm like, oh, this is kind of creepy. There was like graffiti everywhere. And I'm like, all right, I don't know. This seems a little like sketchy to me. Like, I don't know if I should be up here, because I'm like, what if somebody just like comes out of this building? Like, I'm by myself. Nobody knows I'm in the woods. Like, this is kind of scary. But I'm like, I don't want to turn around because I don't even know what I'm going back to. I really don't want to do all that again, because now I'm 45 minutes in. And so I just keep on going up the hill, and got another big tree across the path. I go up and over the tree, and then I start seeing the road, and I'm like, oh, I know where I am. So I ended up making it out to right where like the parking lot was, where my car is. And I had seen this exit of this trail like 1,000 times. Every time I drive past it, I see it, but I'm like, never really thought of where it led to. And so I finally get out and make it out of this path. I'm like, oh, okay. So now I'm like sweating. I got to go work out in far longer than I expected, but I enjoyed it. It was awesome. I'm like, oh, that was kind of cool. I'll have to do that again. That was fun. But it made me think about how this relates to life in so many ways. And so thinking back, again, we can take this is literally life. If we can take these moments and apply it to like what we go through on a daily basis or weekly basis or a years and just overall life, like the big thing is that we don't know where life is going to take us. We really don't. And the same thing with that trail. Like, I started on that trail. I thought I knew where I was going, but it ended up taking me paths that I didn't even anticipate. And it's the same thing with life. Like, think about your life. What's something that you thought you were on a path, like you could kind of predict where you're going to go, and then it was like totally took you off the path and you ended up in a different place than you ever thought of. So that's like what this trail did for me. Brought me to some place I didn't even know I was going to go, but it all worked out. And then also going through that trail, I had that overarching faith that I would figure my way out of it. And that's how life is too. Like, we, to some extent, have to have some faith that we will figure our way out through life. Like, we will figure out how to overcome challenges. We will figure out a way to create a better path for ourselves. And we will have to have some kind of faith to move us forward. And that's what I had. I had faith that I've done this before and I can do it again, and I will get out of here and I'll just figure it out, even though I don't know how. And think about your life. There's so many things probably that you're trying to figure out. You don't know how it's going to work out, and you can't even imagine how it's going to work out, but you just have a faith that somehow things are going to change for the better, and then things will get better for you, and just having that faith. But maybe you're listening to this and maybe you don't feel like you have a lot of faith. Maybe you're living in fear. Maybe you're fearful that the worst case scenario will happen to you, that everything that you could imagine will end up playing out to become true, that this big catastrophe will end up working out in a way that does not serve you, and that every fear you have will come true. That's also our choice. And that's also a choice I had in the woods. I mean, I didn't know where I was. I could have easily been very fearful. I could have feared for what was around the next corner. Was there a bear in the woods? Was there a person that shouldn't be there that would harm me? I mean, I didn't know that, but that was my choice. I could have been fearful in that I don't know what's ahead of me. Or I could be moving forward in faith that even though I don't know what's in front of me, I'm going to keep moving forward and just have faith that it will work out for the better. So how are you moving forward in your life? Are you moving forward with fear that of the unknown and that the worst case scenario could happen? Or are you moving forward and that things will work out? I don't know how, but it will. So there's two choices that we have every day. And so that, again, that trip reminded me of that as well. Another thing that reminded me of and in life is that we always have choices of how we're going to move forward or not move forward. And at that time, when I knew the trail was kind of dissipating, I could have just turned around and gone back on the very visible trail that I came in on. I easily could have done that known where I was, gotten back to the office in less time. But I chose to move forward, even though I didn't know what was ahead of me. So that is very much of like what life is about too. Like we have a known path, we have a known past, and we can easily go back to what we know, even though it's not as exciting and maybe it doesn't even serve us, doesn't help us, doesn't let us explore anything new, but we know it, it's comfortable, and we have that choice. We can stay on what's known. We can stick with that path. And I could have easily just turned around and gone the way I knew. But again, I had that choice. I'm going to explore the unknown. I'm going to take that risk, and maybe it will work out for the best. And I will hope that it will. But there was a chance that I could have been lost in the woods for a while, or something bad could have happened. There was that chance. But I took that choice, and moving forward in my life and moving forward in that path, even though I didn't know what was in front of me. So again, how are you choosing your life? Are you choosing to stay in the place that's known and comfortable? Are you choosing to kind of push out of your comfort zone, even though you don't know what it looks like, you don't know what the future holds, but you're still pushing yourself to go and take that risk because it could be a fun adventure? And maybe that's the choice you're making. So ask yourself as you're listening to this, what choice are you making? Are you staying in the comfort zone and turning back around and going down the path that's clear cut and or are you going down the path that's unknown because it could lead you to something exciting and it could lead you to something that you're dreaming of? So how are you interpreting that? And another thing that I recognized was, again, another metaphor I could take out of this adventure through the woods was that only you can figure it out. No one was there in the woods to help me figure that out. Only you can figure out your life. Only you can figure out your path. And we all have that responsibility to figure out what is best for us. So I was alone in the woods. I had to figure out how to get myself out of that. But what I did have, and I knew I had this as a backup, so it made me a little less fearful, was I had my phone on me. So I knew I could pull up the maps. I could look at the GPS and see my little blue dot where I was, and then figure out where the campus was and just follow that. So I knew I had a guide available. I chose not to use it, but I knew I have it available. And it's the same thing with you. Only you can choose to move forward in your life, but you always have a guide available. There are always people who have done this before or done whatever you're trying to accomplish in your life that can guide you along and make it much quicker for you. And I could have gone out of the woods much quicker than the time it took me. And I could have gone right back to what I was doing in my work if I had used the GPS. And again, that's my choice. And so how are you moving through life? Are you taking the really rough path, kind of like what I took, or are you taking the path that's guided and allowing you to see more clarity and get through the process a little bit quicker? So again, choices we have. Another thing that made me realize how close this was to life. Another thing that made that so real is that when I was going through the woods, I was not only looking right in front of my feet, but I was looking up and out across everything, trying to look at the woods, the landscape, trying to figure out the contour, where campus was, how I can get back to it. And it's the same thing with us. So if I only had the perspective of looking down at my feet the whole time, there's no way I would have gotten out of those woods. There's no way. I would just be looking at my feet and just moving forward, and it would just be like one stick after another log. I would never be able to actually see my way out of those woods. But what allowed me to get out of the woods is that I had perspective. I picked my head up. I was able to view everything around me, and that allowed me to figure out how I can get out of those woods. It's the same thing with life. If we only look at the right now, what is exactly in front of us today, it's hard to really determine where our life is going to take us. But if we can give ourselves perspective that even if today is a bad day, it doesn't mean that that's our destiny and where we're going to go. We have to pick our head up, look around, figure out where's the future direction. What do I want that to look like? And give ourselves perspective. Because if we only look at what's happening right now, the bad that's happening right now, we're going to be stuck in the place that we're in. So we have to be able to look outside ourselves and realize that today is just a small fraction of your life. It's a small, small piece of your life. But if you look at it from 10 years from now, today you barely would remember. And that's because it's perspective. Everything is perspective. So allow yourself to have that broader range of how you're looking at life so you don't feel so stuck right now because you're just looking down at your feet and that's the only thing that you can see. Allow yourself to have a broad perspective. Another thing that reminded me of life, gave me that metaphor of how much this is like life, is that it wasn't level. It wasn't easy. It was pretty treacherous. There was huge trees down. There was pricker bushes. There were rocks. There were like holes that were filled with leaves that I couldn't even see. Could have easily twisted an ankle. I mean, it was rough, and I still got out of the woods. And that's life. Like, life is not a flat paved path. It's never going to be that. And I can't even have the expectation. It was never going to be like that in the woods. And I knew that. It was going to be treacherous. And that's exactly how life is. It's going to knock you around. There's going to be uphills. There's going to be downhills. There's going to be big logs, trees, rocks, everything that's in your way to get to where you want to go. And we have to have those expectations that nothing is going to be linear. There's always going to be setbacks and really hard places that we have to get through. But at the end of the day, if we keep on moving, we keep pushing past those little obstacles or big obstacles, we will eventually get to where we want to be. So that's life. That's what we have to understand, is that it's never going to be level. So we can't have that expectation that one day we're going to coast and it'll just all be easy and everything will fall into place. Unfortunately, it never is like that. We just have to be resilient enough to get through those obstacles to continue on the path of where we want to go. Another thing, what that did is that it led me to a path I didn't even expect. So I went into that path knowing where I was going to go, and I thought it would just loop me around that second pond, but it didn't. It brought me up these woods. I saw a beautiful farm. I got to see that beautiful abandoned church. I mean, there were so many things I didn't even expect. And that's what life does too, is that we go down a path that we can have every intention to create this future exactly how we want it and control everything. But at the end of the day, we have no control over that. And we're going to have a path that we don't expect, but it could honestly be more beautiful than we could have ever created. And that was the beauty of it too, is that even though I didn't know the path and where it would take me to, it was gorgeous. It was beautiful. I got to see a lot of beautiful things that I would not have seen if I stayed in my comfort zone around the path of the first pond. And that is the last thing. So there are gems along the way. So even though the path was treacherous, there was a lot going on there. It was a tough hike. There were so many gems. There was a beautiful farm. There was just the sun coming through the woods and just the warmth. And then just also the feel of like, I'm getting a really good workout in. This feels great. I'm moving my body. I'm enjoying fresh air. Like, it was just a peaceful moment that I wouldn't have had if I hadn't allowed myself to go into kind of an unknown space. So even though there are really tough obstacles and tough places in the unknown, there are some beautiful gems that we can see and appreciate and allow ourselves to experience that. And if we don't ever allow ourselves to go out of that comfort zone and move past the path that we know, we're going to miss a lot of these gems. And that's really what it's about, is embracing these beautiful moments and being present in this beauty that we have all around us. So we have to allow ourselves to experience that and get out of the zone that we always just feel comfortable in or always gravitate towards, because we're going to miss out on a lot of beauty that can come into our lives if we allow it to. So those are my life lessons from the day I got lost in the woods. And I hope this resonates with you, and I hope you understand how beautiful life can be when you go out of your comfort zone a little bit and allow yourself to see something from a different perspective, allow yourself to be exposed to those beautiful gems in life, and just have a different experience than what you're used to. So enjoy your day, and I hope this serves you well. And thank you again for spending your precious time with me.
Thank you for spending your precious time to listen to this episode of Rewiring Health. My mission is to inspire hope and healing through science-backed practices. If you found value in this, please share with 3 people and leave a review. By doing so, this message can be spread to those who need to hear it most. Also, to get updates on the most recent episodes, please subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for being part of this community, and I am forever grateful for you.